Hey Dragonlings, I don't have a vlog for you this week. Instead, I wanted to have like more closer to a sit-down chat because I have not vlogged at all this week and I wanted to talk about what I've been working on and stuff like that. So feel free to grab yourself a drink, a snack, or just listen to this in the background while you do other tasks because it's going to be boring. I'm just going to sit here and talk to you guys. I have not vlogged at all this week because I have been doing the same thing all week. And what I mean by that is that it's not even, I often do the same thing every day during the week, but this case, it's the same boring thing. It's necessary thing, but boring thing. And that is the fact that I've been trying to update my project tracker. Now, this was a project I started, I think last year at some point. I don't even remember exactly when, but I never finished it. And technically speaking, I still haven't finished it, and we'll get into that in a second. But one of the things I was trying to do was basically go through all of my files on my computer, all of my files on my external drive, all of my files on my desktop computer versus my laptop computer, all of my files on flash drives, all of my handwritten notebooks, all of my I have this thick 3-ring binder that has a bunch of notes in it that were both handwritten and typed. I've got folders with completed stories that were printed out that I was going to edit that I haven't touched. Like, I was trying to go through everything and create this list of all of the projects that I've ever worked on as far back as I can get it. And it was something I started to do last year, and when I was doing it last year, I made a mistake when I was trying to do it. Because what I was trying to do is I had several notebooks with like just lists of all my stories, and I was just inputting those lists straight into my computer to make the master list basically. But I wasn't confirming that I still had all those stories. That was mistake number 1. Mistake number 2 was just not finishing the task itself and putting it off and putting it off and putting it off. And then last week, the week before, sometime recently, Laura Nettles was doing a live stream. I'll have her channel linked below if you're interested in checking her out. She's an amazing person. But she started putting together a presentation of all of her WIPs, work in progresses. And I was like, oh, she reminded me basically that I had not finished my own list. And people were talking about the fact that several people in the comments were like, that's a lot of projects, talking about where everyone was listing their projects and how many they had. And then I come in and I was like, I have over 500. In fact, I actually have closer to 600 now. And they're like, oh, what? And I was like, okay, first off, this counts all projects, this counts short stories, this counts poems, this counts novels, novellas, this counts ideas that I haven't written yet, this counts collections because I count them as individuals. Basically, if there's a possibility someday it may be published in some shape, sense, or form, especially like in the idea of collections and anthologies, if it could have an ISBN, I wanted to have it have its own listing. So I started compiling that list a few months ago, last year at some point. And then Laura reminded me of it, and so I started recalculating. And it ties back into a thing I discovered earlier this, I guess last month now in January, when I was doing a live stream with Stephanie. I plugged in my external hard drive and I discovered that it was corrupted. It was not working anymore. It had died. And I was like, at the time, I was like, I don't even know if there was anything on it. For all I know, it was empty. Like, I'm not that worried about it because I don't know what was on it. And then I started continuing to go through this list of projects and I was like, oh, this may be a problem, because I was suddenly realizing what was missing. But all of that to say is that this week that's what I've been working on. I've been working on this master to-do list. And this time I basically started from scratch and I went through the list that I already had and I confirmed that I had the project. I looked through all of my notebooks. I looked through all of the published works I had where they were collections, anthologies, stuff like that. I looked through my computer files on my laptop, my computer files on my desktop. I attempted to get the external hard drive to work again to just double check it. No go. It's dead. I'm going to get rid of it. I went through all the flash drives that I have, discovering that most of them were empty, and I really just need to get rid of them because I was having problems with corrupted files on them as well. That's a whole nother story. But basically what I was trying to do was put hands to paper, or eyes on paper, or eyes on story ideas, and say, yes, I have this. Or if it was something that I had never started, I wasn't as worried about it, I would just change it from like back burner idea or in progress to idea only. And I was doing this for a couple of reasons. The first is that I wanted this master project list because I tend to keep track of like what my word count is on a daily basis. I tend to keep track of like how many words I write per year, per month, blah, blah, blah. And the problem with tracking projects that way is that I also have a tendency to change titles, or like if I don't have an official title for a project, I will just put some kind of 2 to 3 keyword name, and then I'll change the name later. But looking back through some of my trackers, I discovered that I no longer remembered what the names were. So like there was a project that I worked on a few years ago where the title, I don't even remember what the key word was, but it was like 2 or 3 words. And I was like, I have no idea what this project is. So one of the things I was trying to do was I was trying to assign each project a number based on a couple of different factors, which I'll get into later. But I was trying to assign each project a number so that even if the title changes, I can look it up later based on said number. So that looking back throughout the years, the number will stay the same even if the title changes. And the other thing I was trying to do, because it was another thing that came up during Laura's stream at some point, or someone's, it might not have been Laura's stream, it might have been my stream later on. But one of the other things that came up was, like, how many words have you written in your entire lifetime? Not just for a year, not just for a 5-year span, but your entire lifetime. And I was like, I honestly have no idea. So I was like, when I'm making this master project list, I wanted to calculate how many words I've written as well. So that's another thing I was doing, is as I was putting eyes on projects, I was getting that word count, and I was getting my list of projects, which turned out to be a good thing, because in the process of doing this, that's what I've been doing all week, which is why I'm like, I didn't film anything, I didn't vlog, because it's literally what I've been doing. And it's a very boring process, because it's just, my update would have been, I added more projects to my list, or I found more missing projects, or, yeah, it was boring. Which is why I'm just doing one update now instead. Pixel, what are you doing? You're acting like you had catnip. Are you on drugs? Drugs. Anyways, where was I going with that? I forgot. She distracted me. I'm so sorry. I was calculating word count. I was confirming numbers. I was confirming projects. And, like, the reason I say it's not done is because there's quite a few handwritten projects. I'll go over numbers in a minute, because I've got numbers. I've got most of my numbers, I should say. But I think there's only 2 numbers I don't have, and I'll have to look those up. But I discovered that there are a couple of projects that are missing, and they're all older projects, so I'm not mad about it. And they may have been on the hard drive, but I have so few projects missing that I don't think they were on the hard drive. I think I just deleted the files thinking it was duplicates, which that was a process I was doing a few years ago as well, as I was trying to get all of my projects in one place so that I wouldn't have duplicates, because I had duplicates in multiple places. So I think that was the case with these stories, because they're all older. I think it was a case of they were on my list and I either purposely got rid of them over the years, or their files were corrupted and I no longer had access to those stories and I couldn't remember them well enough to keep them so I could rewrite them. Like, I don't know. There's so few, I'm not that worried about it. In fact, I have my list right here. There were a total of 7 stories that were missing. And again, I don't remember what any of them were about enough to care. So even if they were on the external hard drive, I don't care. I did find quite a few ideas that I thought I'd written down on my list and then weren't, so I had to add a bunch of stuff. It worked out. But total, my master project list has 596 projects listed on it. 195 of them are still in idea mode. Now, what I mean by idea mode, and this is where, like, I might do a video, if you're interested in a video where I actually go into detail of how I created this project list and stuff like that, feel free to let me know in the comments. But one of the ways I debated doing it is that if a story belonged to a series, I would number it instead of like all my stories, whether it was in a series or not, being numbered 1, 2, 3, blah, blah. I would do like the series itself as a number, like just say the first 2 stories, like 1 was a standalone, 2 was a standalone, 3 was a series. So I would have 3, the series title, and then 3A, book 1, 3B, book 2. The problem with that is sometimes that I will write a book and I will decide it actually fits into another series. That's still a process I might do in the future. I'm still like on the fence about it. And it may be something I do in the future, because this 596 includes all of my series. Not just like the individual titles, but with the short story series especially. Because I have a bunch of short story series. It doesn't just count the short story series, it counts like the omnibus. I had a collection of short stories that came out in like 2013, 2014, I think. And I included not only the individual stories that were part of that collection, but the collection itself. I have all the poetry that I've written, plus the poetry collection title that I had put out once upon a time. So, like, it doesn't just include individual projects. If I already currently, at this time, know it's going to be an omnibus of some kind, or a collection of some kind, or, I'm not including anthology titles if I am not the one putting that anthology together. So, like, I've had some stories featured in various anthologies. I don't have the anthology titles in my project list, but I do have the stories that were in those anthologies on my project list. When I get to the point where I am putting project anthologies together myself, those anthologies will go on the project list. So, it includes everything. And again, it also includes, I said it has 195 ideas. This is like individual stories, as well as like I have a general idea for a series. The one that pops up in my head most is Holidays with Monsters. I know the holidays I want to write about for said series. I have no plots, just vibes, and no, like, I have some ideas of what I think would make sense for different holidays, like Cupid's for February for Valentine's Day kind of thing. But nothing is actually plotted out. Nothing is planned. I have no titles. I have no plots. Just a list of holidays. And I'm like, I want to write these holidays featuring monsters. That's it. That's all I've got. So that is technically just listed as one project, even though I've got that whole list of holidays, and it will eventually become multiple stories, which is part of the reason I am debating doing the like project number A, B, C, blah, blah. And I may still do that. I'm gonna have to think about that really hard for a little bit. But all of that being said, anything that I have not started writing any words on at all is in the idea folder. So there's those. I have 62 that are on the back burner. It's actually a number. This probably should be a higher number, because the other high number I have is works in progress, and technically speaking, I'm only working on like 2 or 3 projects right now, so the rest of those projects should be on my back burner. But For me, back burner projects are like, I'm not really thinking about them. I'm not actively working on them. I started writing them. I did not finish them. I started writing them and I don't know when I'm going to get back to them. I started writing them and may never get back to them, but I want to get back to them, kind of thing. That's what I consider a back burner project. Whereas an in progress project is something that I'm either actively working on or like have every intention of, if I finish one thing right now, I can stop and work on something else tomorrow. Like, those are what I count for the in progress. And I've got 12 in progress projects. Then I have 277 that are complete. This includes poems, this includes collections, this includes nope, there's no anthologies. I don't know why I keep saying anthologies. Poems, collections, short stories. Crikey, I almost did it again. So poems, short stories, collections, novels, everything. So I've got 277 that are complete. Complete is not the same as published. Published, I have 7. Not that many. And it's fine. I'm not that worried about it. Then I have 9 stories that are currently unpublished. These were either originally with a publishing company or part of an anthology, and I'm looking to put them back out eventually. Doesn't matter what the reason is, they are currently not published anywhere. I have 8 projects that are DNFs, and for me, a project that's DNF is something that either I think I want to write, but it turns out I don't, or it's a project that just went completely off the rails and isn't something I'm interested in writing at all for whatever reason, and I just will not be returned to it possibly. That being said, any project that I label as a DNF, there's always a possibility I'll return to it at some point in time. I just don't know what that point is, and I'm not too worried about it. I've got other projects that are more what I want to work on, more of what I want to do, and they take a higher priority than anything that's going to be on my DNF list, unless I suddenly get a spark of inspiration for something on my DNF list. So there's that. And then the reason I say my list is not like completely accurate, and the reason I think that I still have a long way to go with this, is that I had a bunch of handwritten projects still in various forms, and there's 26 of those. So I have 26 handwritten projects that need to be typed up in some form or fashion, whether I type them up and edit them as I go, or just type them straight as they are and just have them on my computer saying that I have completed them and they are there, they exist. That is things I have to keep in mind. So 596 total, with 195 being ideas, 62 being back burner, 12 being in progress, 277 being complete but not published, 7 published, 9 unpublished, 8 DNFs, and 26 handwritten. That is quite a few projects. I didn't realize I had done math on one side and I had written it better on the other side, and I was looking at the math side. Whoops. So that is what I've got. And then I think I said it already. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There were 7 projects that are just missing. I don't know what happened to them. They were originally on some of my lists saying that they were stories that I had written, but I do not have the files anymore. Whether they were on the external hard drive, one of the flash drives that are corrupted, or anything like that. It doesn't matter. I don't care enough to care. So they are gone. And now I have, at least for this time period, I have a completed and updated list of my master projects. I think my next step is to go ahead and duplicate that list. I am using Notion for it. I was originally using both a spreadsheet and Notion, and there's just some ways I can organize it in Notion that I wasn't able to do with the spreadsheet. Plus, one of the other things I like to do is I like to have like I use my Notion not kind of as a story Bible, but where I put like a bunch of notes about the story and like updates on my progress. So what I wanted was a way to link the stories to the information that I wanted to kind of update, like especially like for published projects I want to publish. I wanted to be able to have a place to keep like ISBNs and metadata and stuff like that. So putting it in Notion was just easier because I could have all that information in the file itself. Whereas spreadsheet, it would have to link to an outside page. So I have switched completely to using Notion for my master project. But I think the next thing I want to do with my master project is duplicate my original list and set it up the way I said, where the series was one number and then number A, number B, number C, until we have all the projects. I think that's the next thing I want to do, is set it up. And then moving forward, doing it that way will make it a little easier if moving forward I decide to add more projects to that series, and I can keep all those series together. And what I mean by that is that, like, Shifters and Mages, originally when I had it with the publishing company, it was supposed to be 5 books. And now that it's no longer with the publishing company, and I've been working with an editor, we have determined that some of the stories that were originally supposed to be like full-length novels would work better as novellas, and some of my novellas will work better as novels. So, like, the number of stories in that series keeps fluctuating, and I think it's currently at 4. It will be at 4 novels in the end. Sorry, my leg is itching. That's what my arm is doing. I pulled my leg up so I could itch it. I just got off work, and the design of my socks is making impressions in my skin, and it itches. But I think that will make it easier in the long run if I do something like that. Plus, if I decide, like, recently I had a series that I've, like, been plotting out off and on for years now, where each of the titles was a kind of animal pun. About a town full of shapeshifters where everyone knows that shapeshifters exist, and the shapeshifters can run around in both their human and animal form in this town without consequences. And so, like, I had 4 or 5 stories in the series already titled. This was another case where I've actually been changing the title for a couple stories because of the way I wanted the titles. So, like, I had How's It Hangin', which was a wolf shifter. Bear in Mind, which had a title change. It was originally like Bear for Me or something like that, and I didn't want the pronoun in there. That's not the right term. I didn't want the word me. I didn't want I, me, you, or anything like that in my titles. And I've got another title change with this series coming up that I'll talk about. But so there's How's It Hangin'. Howl as in like a wolf howl. How's It Hangin'. Bear in Mind. Lion to Everyone originally was Lion to Me. It was another one that changed. Hold Your Horses. I actually recently changed again because I didn't want the pronoun in there. I didn't want your in there. I recently also changed it because there is an author I follow here on authortube who has a zookeeper series where the whole family are zookeepers, I think. I'm not positive. But her most recent book that she literally just published is called Hold Your Horses. So I was trying to think of a different title for my Hold Your Horses story. And it wasn't until I was making this master list that I was like, oh, I gotta quit horsing around. Oh, crap. There we go. That's the title. So, How's It Hangin', Bear in Mind, Lion to Everyone, Quit Horsing Around, What the Fox. And then I've had those story ideas, and I've been plotting them off and on for years now. And then a couple of months ago, sometime in either 2025 or late 2024, I had a new story idea pop in my head. And I was like, oh, that would be perfect for this series. But the way I had my master list originally, before I just did this update, was that I was doing it by, like, as I come up with the idea, it gets numbered it gets added to the list. So while all of those original titles were so much earlier in my number list, the new one was way down by itself near the bottom. And I've had that happen with a couple different series. So as I was redoing this list, I was putting, like, series together. And if, like, those series have an omnibus, I was putting the omnibus with it as well. But that is part of the reason I think it would be much better and much more fun to do, like, the 1A, 1B, 1C, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6A, 6B, 6C kind of thing. I think that will be the way I go in the long run. I'm going to go ahead and test it out. Like I said, I'm going to duplicate my file and I will test that out to see how that works and see if I like it, because that's a possibility. And then I've got to update all my word count trackers if it turns out I do like that and I do want to go with that. So that is why I haven't been vlogging it all this week, because again, all of my updates would have been extremely short, extremely boring, and I'm just now at the end of the week processing. It's Saturday and I'm processing what I've accomplished this week, because I just finished Friday night before going into work. I was sitting on the couch with my kids. We were watching movies and I was finishing up updating this list while we were watching movies. And I literally finished it like 10 minutes before I had to go to work, kind of thing. So that's what I've been working on all week, is updating this list. And now I'm thinking about changing it already, but I was already thinking about changing it. I just didn't, I wanted to finish it first before I started changing it, kind of thing. So yeah, that's why I have no vlog. That's what I've been working on this week. The other thing I've been working on this week is like thinking really hard. It's now been 3 weeks since I worked on anything writing or publishing related. I have not finished editing Imagined Overdue. I have not finished the draft of Protected Alone, which by my own project schedule, I should have finished both those things by now. This would have been the week to finish Protected Alone. In fact, actually, Protected Alone, I would have had to send out to betas on Sunday. So I have not finished that. And I've not been doing anything with writing and publishing this week because I've been putting this project list together to make it easier on myself. And I'm still tweaking it. So no writing and editing has been done. That does not mean I haven't been working on plot. I'm sorry, I'm watching the cat. She found I think there's a rubber band, but she's just kind of like picking up and throwing it, picking up and throwing it kind of thing. She's playing with the rubber band. She literally just did a backflip. This is the fat cat that's 25 pounds, by the way. She threw it up in the air and did a backflip trying to get it. Okay, she just ran down the hall. Anyways, distractions, ADHD, great stuff. Ooh. But just because I hadn't been working on anything writing or publishing related doesn't mean I haven't been thinking about anything writing or publishing related. And I now have to sit back down at the drawing board and see and reevaluate where I am at with my stories and what I think I can accomplish. Because one of the things I'm working on, for those who don't know, I'm working on the first of 7 short story series. And this first short story series has, all 7 of these series have 7 stories in them. So it's called the Sevenity Universe, and there are 7 different series, each with 7 books, for a total of 49 books. And I am currently working on the first series, and it's called Sultry Solstices. It follows 7 sisters as they find romance with supernatural creatures. So the first one dealt with a kind of not exactly ghost. The second one dealt with a vampire. The third one is dealing with a gargoyle. The fourth one deals with a hellhound. 5 deals with an orc. 6 is fae, and 7 is a djinn. So like I've got all the stories pretty much loosely plotted out. 1 is done completely. I keep saying that, and then every once in a while I have a feeling of imposter syndrome, and I'm like, I want to tweak it. I want to make changes to it, and then I'm like, no, it's fine. Don't touch it. Leave it alone. And I might change my mind about that after I publish it and get some reviews on it. I don't know yet. The same thing is true with number 2. I have read it twice now since finishing this final edit, I guess, the final rewrite. And I should be like finalizing edits so I can format it and send it off to betas. And I don't know if it's the fact that I'm afraid of what betas will say. I don't know if it's just that I like it as is and I just don't want to mess with it anymore. I don't know. But I'm avoiding working on it for whatever reason. And the same is actually true with Protected Alone, which is the 3rd book. I changed the plot. I changed what I wanted the plot to be. I have not written out any of this new plot. And by change the plot, I mean that I originally had the main character doing one thing for her job, and reason for being in this particular location that sets off the whole story was due to that job. And now I changed how I was doing that, which is great. Like, I'm not upset about it. It's just that now, since then, I have not sat down to actually start writing. So I don't know if what I've changed it to will actually work. And then the other thing that's been going through my mind a lot is the fact that I'm like, okay, I've got this whole universe, and I've literally been taking it story by story, but I need to start thinking big picture. Like, are supernatural creatures out in the open? There are some communities that know that supernatural creatures exist, or is everything just like a conspiracy theory? Like, I fully believe that ghosts are real, but there's some people out there that don't think ghosts are real, kind of thing. Like, stuff like it. Think of that theory, but with every kind of supernatural creature that I plan on including in this particular world, and you've got my conundrum. I've got things to figure out as far as the universe scenario goes. I've got some things to figure out with, like, the history of my characters, because I think it was in a vlog a couple weeks ago, I mentioned that as I was writing both the second and third story, I was figuring some stuff out about the characters, and as I was plotting book 7, I was figuring some stuff out about the characters, and I realized that some of that stuff will still work, but some of that stuff just does not work. It doesn't make sense, because I think one of the things I mentioned was that I figured these kids went to private school when they were younger and are in public school when they're older. I'm like, most kids would reverse that. Most kids would start in public school and then go to private, not the other way around. And then I was like, okay, in the first story, this character's had several wrecks. She's had to replace her car or get it fixed several times. Like, that's one of the main plots. Like, how can she afford that? And it's never really explained. In fact, actually, it's one of those things where you don't really... I just told you, but if you read the story, you cannot really get that. Because there's only, like, one line that even mentions anything close to that. So it's probably a matter of me overthinking it. But in my mind, I'm like, how could she afford that? And my explanation a couple of weeks ago in the vlog talked about the fact that her family comes from money. Makes sense. There's 7 kids. In my mind, that makes sense. Their family comes from money. In some sense of the word. And when we get to book 7, I will have that plotted out. But at the same time, I'm like, some of my plot lines for later stories does not work if they do come from this set background. Because I've got one of the characters working for, like, a cleaning service. She works for a cleaning service. And she's been hired out to clean this mansion while the owners are not even there. Like, that's her entire job, is to clean this mansion on a day-to-day basis while the owners are not there. Or at least a weekly basis, I haven't decided which, while the owners are not there. And I'm like, she comes from money. Why would she need this cleaning service job? And yes, I could explain it as, like, mom and dad are, like, making sure their kids don't get, like, a huge ego, and make sure that they know where they come from, and that they have humble beginnings, kind of things. But at the same time, I've got another character that, like, she's carefree. She doesn't have a job. She's just kind of coasting along. And then we got another character who's still in school. Like, and by school, I mean college. All of my characters are adults. Every single one. They're all adults. She's crikey. In this day and age, I feel like we have to make sure that's known. We won't get into why. So, yeah, I'm just... I have, as you can tell, I've been thinking about my story, and I'm like trying to put all these puzzle pieces together. And I think what I need to do is I need to think about the universe as a whole for all 7 series, all the stories in all 7 series. And then I need to break this particular one down and figure out how they all fit together. I do know how the 7th one fits into all of them, because that's technically the starter for everything. It's just that everything that happens in the first 6 will be spoiled if you read that one first. But it is some of the events at the very beginning of that story that kicks off the entire series. I promise it'll make sense. But yeah, that's just, like, I think what I need to do is just figure out the world, the Sevenity Universe, and then I need to figure out the story. And I think what I might need to do too, which will also change some of my writing plans, is I need to go ahead and just write at least the first draft of all 7 stories before I think about editing, before I think about sending to betas, before I think about doing any of that. Maybe that's just what I need to do. Maybe I need to just write out the stories in the simplest forms, the way I think it's going to work, and then edit them after that. Even though I haven't been actually writing this week, it doesn't mean I haven't been thinking about the stories. It's gotten to the point where, like, the first story, because it deals with the solstice and it deals with the summer solstice, I want the first story to come out as close to the solstice as possible. Like, the solstice is on the 20th or 21st, depending on the year. And I think this year, I do have specific dates, like days of the week that I want to publish on. I want to publish on Tuesdays. If I've shared anything about like my release dates in any of my videos, I don't remember if I have or not. If I have, you'll have noticed that all of my release dates are on Tuesdays. For no apparent reason. Other than the fact that's when trad publishing companies do it, and I was like, I'm going to do it on the same day as them kind of thing. You don't have to. It is easier for me, okay? That way I can be like, okay, I have a book coming out on Tuesday, and I know when it's going to release. I think the Tuesday that follows the solstice is the 23rd. And at this point, if I have to do what I said, and I have to write all these drafts before I send it to even a single beta reader, and I do all these edits before I send it to a single beta reader, I don't know if I can have them complete by June 23rd. Now, that might not be a big deal for some, except for I wanted to rapid release these every 2 weeks, starting with the first one. I didn't have any specific dates I wanted to release the 2 through 7, but I did know that I wanted the first one to come out on the summer solstice, or as close to the Tuesday that's closest to the summer solstice. And then every other story afterwards, until I've got all 7 out, we're supposed to come out 2 weeks afterwards. So I think the last one's coming out at the end of September, beginning or ending of September, the way I calculated it. I don't know if I'm going to make those deadlines based on the fact that I have been writing and I haven't been editing. And now I'm debating on whether or not I should write the entire story, first draft of all 7 stories, before I try sending to beta readers or editing. I think in the long run, that's going to be what I need to do, is I need to write all the stories first, at least the first draft, before I even think about sending to an editor or beta reader. Because I don't know if I'm going to be able to get the stories out this year, and I'm not going to do where I just release one and then wait longer than I wanted to, like 3 to 4 weeks, and then put out the next one. No. Either they will all 7 be done and ready to publish before the first one drops, or they will not get published this year, and it will be next year. That's essentially what I was getting at, is that it may not be this year that those stories get published, which I'm not mad about, because when I originally started writing down my goals at the beginning of December, actually, of last year, when I was just thinking about what my goals were going to be, originally I had written that I wasn't going to be publishing anything this year. I wasn't going to be waiting to publish anything until next year. This year I did have 2 things I wanted to publish, because I wanted to publish Changeling, which is a male sweet romance, fantasy romance. That was originally an anthology. I got my rights back. I did a quick edit, and I'm going to be publishing it, because why not? And then the other one is the writing prompt book that will be coming out in November, called What's Your Story? So, like, I've got projects that will come out in 2026, no matter what. I've got 2. There might be more eventually. But I will not be 100% upset if I can't get Sultry Solstices out this year. I would like to get it done no matter what, so that I can get it to come out next year. But here's my thing. If it doesn't come out this year, if it comes out next year, that gives me more time to do audiobooks. Gives me more time to get the artwork, the custom artwork that I want for characters, because if you've been around my channel, you've heard me talk about the fact that I have these covers that I made in Canva for the Sultry Solstices series. And what my plan for this series was to kind of copy what older... I usually saw it with historical romance, but I know it was done in other genres too, and that was where they had, like, the cover had, like, a circle cut out, and then when you open the cover, that first page was, like, a full illustrated image that you could see through the cutout. I wanted to simulate that, basically. And I wanted to have, it was going to be a full cover, no cutout, but it was going to have a circle design so that it looks like it has a cutout. And in that circle design was going to be part of an image that was like a full page image on the inside of the story. Like, that's always been my plan with this, not just this particular series, but this entire universe with this short story series. With all 49 stories, is that I wanted to get custom artwork made of the characters, whoever they may be, and use like the circle cutout of partial image for the cover itself, and then have a fully illustrated picture inside. And so, like, part of the reason I'm not mad that the story might not come out this year is that gives me more time to get that ball rolling. Because there is one artist in particular that I absolutely love their work, but they are not currently open for commissions, even if I could afford said commissions at the moment. I know roughly what their prices are, but I will be contacting them and see if they do any kind of, I know the answer will probably be no, and I will not be mad about it, but it never hurts to ask if they do any kind of discount if you order so many artworks at once, because, like, I would like to use the same artist, at least for each series in the universe. So, like, Sultry Solstices will have one artist, even if another series has a different artist. And actually, I really like that idea of each series having a different artist, but not the point. Each story in each individual series, I want to have the same artist. So it never hurts to ask. They probably will say no, but I want to contact them and see if I can get a discount if I purchase all 7 artwork at once, and then actually roll out my idea to them to see if they're even interested in doing something like that. And I've got 2 or 3 artists that I know I would like to see work on my stories. One of them I know, like, that's top tier. If I can get them, that's the one I want. But there's a couple others, like, if that one says no, that I wouldn't mind working with as well. Plus, I always have an open invitation. If you do artwork, I have shown a couple. Have I shown some videos where I talk about the style of artwork? I'll flash a couple images on the screen of similar styles. Now, most of these are like spicy, and mine are not spicy, but that's part of the reason I'm doing it like the way I'm doing it with the cutout covers, because it's not spicy, and I wanted the covers to be slightly different with a similar art style kind of thing. Plus, I just like the idea of being able to flip open the book and see a full color image of the character artwork. Like, I just love that idea. So, again, won't be mad if I can't get the series published this year, because that gives me more time to do various things with it. My oldest daughter is doing the chapter headings. She has been working on some designs that we're going to scan into the computer, tighten up a little bit, clean up a little bit, and then use for the chapter headings. She's made me a bunny for the second story, Imagined Overdue, which features the vampire, because the main female character is a witch, and she has a bunny for her familiar. She drew a car for the first story because it's a haunted or possessed car. The third story was one she's struggling with. She was like, I don't know what I want to do for a gargoyle. And, like, could just draw any random gargoyle for all I care. I don't know. Look at the pictures of Notre Dame, because that was my inspiration for the gargoyle in this particular story, is the gargoyles from Notre Dame. So she's still working on that. But she's made me a couple other designs, whether they can go with this series or not. She was just having some fun. I was like, I would be paying for you for these, by the way, just so you know. Once we get this figured out and you've got this down to a T, I will definitely be paying you for this. So she's got herself a little side hustle, a little side gig that she's super excited about. And I'm really excited for her for the same reason. But yeah, it just gives me more time. If it doesn't come out this year, it's fine. We're moving in July or August, and I will start ramping up, like, packing and stuff in June, which is when I want these stories to be published. So, like, I won't be mad if I can't publish them this year. Yeah, that's just the way it works sometimes. Sometimes things don't go as planned, and this might be one of those things that doesn't go as planned. But because of that, one of the other things I've been thinking about is especially with the short stories, like, it's one series that's part of many series. There's 7 series. And originally I was thinking I'll do one series this year. I'll publish one series this year, and then starting next year I'll publish 2 series at a time until all 7 are out. And now I'm thinking, I think I would just like to do one series per year and then have another single novel, novella, something or other, something else along with the short story series. And so, like, for the next 7 years, I will have a short story series coming out. I don't know. It's just all stuff I'm thinking about. Nothing's set in stone. Not thinking that far ahead. I'm just thinking about until the end of March at this point. But I am, technically speaking, 3 weeks behind. And that does affect my eventual publishing schedule. So at the moment, and this may change in the future, I don't know if I'll be publishing the Sultry Solstices series this year. I want to publish it this year, but it might not be this year, and I'm okay with that. So yeah, this is just all stuff I've been thinking about this week, and what I've been working on this week, and why there's no vlog this week, and you're just getting this nearly hour-long chatty video instead. I am so sorry. So yeah, that's everything that's been on my mind this week, and everything I've worked on, which it's been a lot, but at the same time doesn't feel like a lot. This video is long though. I hope you enjoyed me rambling on and on about various things that I've been doing, and yeah, I will go ahead and I will see you all in my next vlog. And I will actually be a vlog next week, because I'm now done with that project. I have no excuse not to write now. And as I was talking to you guys, I worked out what I needed to work on, so I know what I need to do more from forward. Thank y'all for your help. I loved having you guys as my rubber duck. Leave me some kind of duck emoji in the chat if you want to, in the comment section, to show you made it this far in the vlog and that you've listened to me ramble on. Anyways, that's all I have for you guys today, and I will see you all in my next video or vlog. So, bye, Dragonlings.